My name is Keith Scott. I'm your trainer consultant for today. Name of my company is KS Consulting Group. And just in general, my background overall is human resources. The class I did before was on human resources, and the class I did this morning was on stress management. And so now the class today is on effective partnering with parents and families. And I also consider not just parents, but families. This is my overall background. A lot of big corporations, companies, small, mid-sized, large. Worked in education for a little while where we had a pre-K, and also worked with big companies where we have an on-site childcare. I've been doing childcare training for about 7 years or so now, but overall just a lot of general training on soft skills, and I got a list of about 14 or 16 classes, and you can check with Julie anytime if there's any classes that's on the list that you may want to attend. And I may be dealing a budgeting and finance class sometime in June. I don't know the exact date. So that's just a little bit about my background. Class is too large. We got a lot of content material to kind of share within the next hour and a half. But I just want to do a quick poll. How many of you are child care directors or owners? The majority, okay. And how many are direct providers of the children and don't serve in an administrative or capacity role? You don't do direct care provider for children or a teacher? What other roles am I missing?
Mentor.
Mentor?
Mentor/professor.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Any other roles I'm missing? Okay. What's that? Administrative staff. Okay. All right. How many think they've been in child care the longest? What's the longest tenure? Someone think. You may not want to share.
I've done it 32 years.
Wow, 32 years. Let's give her a round of applause. Okay. How many have been in the least years? Who think they've been in child care the least years of experience? You're ashamed? Anybody been in less than 2 years? Less than 5 years? Less than 5 years. Let's give her a round of applause. Okay. And the last question, who has the potential most children that they service? Who has a large amount that's over, let's say, over close to 100 or more?
218.
218? Okay. How many you have? 105? Okay, well, 218. Wow, you got a big job on your hand, right? Well, you were in my HR class. Yeah. Okay, who has the smallest amount? That's less than 25 or 30? Less than 50 children? You right at 50? Okay. All right. I just wanted to give a little context because just to see the size and the scope that you work for, because it is diversity, right? And the number of parents and families that you deal with, right? Whether it's small or large, and sometimes even that smaller few or 10% or 20% can create a lot of challenge for you, right? Just like with employees and also with children or anything. And so it's good to have a diverse group. So let's get started today on effective partnering with parents and families. Okay, this is what we're going to cover. It's going to be a full agenda, and maybe towards the end I might have to move relatively quickly. But why partner with parents, and what are some of the benefits? We're going to talk about that. So we really want you to get involved, and we're going to actually break you up in groups. Just sit where you're at, 3 or 4 people, however you want to do it, because you have a lot of the answers, because we want to share today best practices in benchmarking. I don't have all the answers, and so we want to share knowledge. I don't want to look at this as a competition with other child care centers, because when we work effectively for all of our children, a high tide raises all boats and levels. So we want to increase our partnership and our relationship with our parents, with the families, and obviously that's going to benefit our children, and obviously our teachers also. So we're going to also talk about barriers to parents' involvement, methods of ways they can get involved, and really communication is really key. And all the trainings that I do, dozen or more, communication is a key denominator. So we're going to talk about that. How do we increase parent satisfaction? Talk a little bit about parent surveys and assessment, how we involve other family members in the community, and how do we sustain family engagement and partnership, and just some additional resources to take back with you. Sounds fair enough? Okay. So I'm going to use this effectively. So we're going to get started with an exercise immediately. So again, decide, 4 or 5, however you want to break up in groups, move around, however you feel comfortable. So think about these fundamental questions. What is parent involvement? How do you define it? What does that mean to you? And on a scale of 1 to 10, even in your group, discuss where do you feel, how are parents involved today? Is it high, low, or medium? You can use it at that category, or if it's 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. I kind of want to get a poll and see how you think parents are more involved. What do you want to get parents involved in? We just can't say we want parent involvement, but what does it mean? And what do you want to get them involved in? Okay? Then also, what are the benefits when that happens? And we know so many changes in family dynamics and the economy and everything. So how has the family dynamics changed overall? So this is actually a big exercise, and so we don't have a lot of time, but I'm gonna at least give you 10 minutes, okay? So decide amongst yourselves what groups you're gonna work in, and I'll give you 10 minutes to answer these questions, and I'll come back and get feedback from you, okay? Fair enough? And I'm gonna just go round robin, in different groups. So let's start with this group over here. What are some of the things you came up with? What is parent involvement? What does that mean, or what's the definition? What does that mean to you? No,
So we started at the bottom.
oh, we'll pick on the guy, I'm sorry.
We tried to start at the top, but we ended up working our way at the bottom because of the way the families have changed.
Okay.
Because it affects everything up above. They're just different.
It's just how things have changed?
Yeah. So
Okay.
with the parent involvement, it's dropping off, having a quick conversation,
Okay.
and going.
Okay.
I think is what we said.
Okay, just even that conversation and being able to do that, and is that how it's changed also, or just is what involvement means to
It
you?
used to be a bit more from the education standpoint, but now it's drop and run.
Okay, drop and run. Okay, that's what okay. So what is the dynamics? What does parent involvement means to you? I should have said select a
They
pair.
actually want to know what we're doing with their children during the day.
Okay.
And not just expect us to just sit, like you said, the
Okay.
BIS.
BIS.
We're not butts in seats
Yeah,
just
right.
watching their kids play.
Okay.
You know, the ones that actually want to know what we're doing and incorporate it at home and.
So getting
have
involved
us
with
look at
asking
the
and knowing
unit and not
and getting
just
okay.
daycare home.
All right.
But
Okay.
she mentioned that some parents will make a comment, we're paying the bill, you can do all,
Yeah.
it's your job, it's your
So-
job
Help
to
us
do
not let
everything.
Johnny wrestle
Okay.
in the living room.
Okay.
And no,
Okay.
you do what you do, we do what we do.
Okay. Okay. Great. And this group, what do you have here? What does parent involvement mean to you?
Two different.
Okay.
Being connected.
Being connected.
I mean, not just what we are doing, but how their child is doing and connecting what's happening at home. And so it's a two-way communication. I mean, I think, and obviously we want them we want them physically there. We want them to participate in activities, come be part of the classroom,
Okay.
not be an observer of the classroom
It's-
very
what's that?
intimately
As a team.
involved.
A connection and being as a team, and that's that key word is partnering, right? It's partnering. And communication is another common theme. Involvement, okay? Sharing. What do you have here?
Communicate,
Communication is key?
Communication is
Yeah.
huge, and if you got, every parent, that you got their most precious
Precious,
little thing. and
right.
Their child is the most special thing to
Mhm.
them, so the communication with them, if there's,
Very-
for me, if I'm having behavior issues,
Mm-hmm.
communication is key. If they're being excellent, a parent likes to hear
Right,
that
okay,
their kids have
okay.
a good day.
Okay, all right. And sharing that information is very, very critical. Okay, just in general, how many of you have a high level of what you consider a high level of parent involvement, or you might say it's on a scale of 8, 9, 10? Maybe 1/3 of the group, okay? How many of you would classify sort of like in a medium level, maybe 6 or 7? 5, 6, or 7? That's fair, okay. Maybe another 1/3. And I consider anything that's kind of average, almost kind of low. Anybody that has anything less than a 5 we'll call a low level of parent involvement or participation. Nobody's brave enough to raise their hand? Okay, maybe a few parents. There's still some parents that's like that, right? But as an aggregate, you're mostly you're medium to high. Well, class is over with. Everybody knows what to do, right? Well, let's see how we can get those mediums to high, and how we can get those highs being sustained. Because we don't keep things up or change things change, right? And so how we're going to continue to sustain those things are very important, okay? But what do you really want to get out of parents' involvement? What do you want to get them involved in? What do you want to get them involved in?
I think mainly that we just want them to understand what's going on with their child during the day.
Okay, understand, okay? What's going on during the day, okay? Anybody else got something? What do you want them to get involved in? How do you want to get them involved?
Helping them get potty trained,
Helping them get potty trained,
that bottle and the
the bottle and the pacifier. Now we're really being specific, right? It's some skills and some development areas, right? Okay.
Let us know when home life has changed.
Let them know when home life has
Way we
changed.
can be proactive in expecting little Johnny to act out because daddy all of a sudden isn't there last night.
Wow. Wow, that's a big one. Family dynamics and changing that happen. Let them know, because you're figuring out, well, why is little Johnny acting different? Parents had a big fight last night, or dad's not there anymore. So being proactive and communicating and sharing that information, right? Okay. Anybody else have anything? What do you want to get involved? What do you want to know, and why? Some of the same things? Some of the same things?
I want
Okay.
them to be teachers as well.
Co-teaching, right? Okay, it shouldn't be all left on you. It's a shared responsibility, right? It's a shared responsibility, okay? Now here's the big one. Well, what are some of the benefits, though, before we go to dynamics? What are some of the benefits of having parents involved? What's that? Smoother days? Happier children?
No surprises.
No surprises?
They're good resources.
Good resources? Okay. Probably the teachers are satisfied. Everybody just is better, right? Okay. So here's a big one. How has family dynamics changed? What's changed in the family? I heard a lot over here. What's changed? I was listening. Grandparents are more involved? Grandparents raise them? Unique family dynamics? Babies having babies?
And overscheduling.
Overscheduling? Okay. And what do you mean by overscheduling?
We have soccer, we have baseball, we have
Okay.
cheerleading, we have
Okay.
football.
Okay. They do too much of things, activities
Too
going.
many coaches picking up, so sometimes you don't even see the families.
Wow. Okay. Right. A lot have changed, right? And I'll just share with you a few. If I can find here it is. So, just a couple of things. What keeps parents from being involved? Even before that, I go there. Parents are, disconnected a lot at the family level. A lot of disconnection. A lot of times people don't even have meal times together anymore. What happened to those old dynamics? They spend little time together. And what about this? What about this thing right here? And FaceTime that they share on the computer. Sometimes the technology and laptops and iPads and phones and all those things. That's their babysitter at home, and that's the time they occupy themselves. So those things have changed. You also said, sometimes you have single parents, right? Grandparents are more involved. Babies having babies. There's it's not a lot of community involvement. They're involved in so many activities. Parents are, losing their jobs. The economy has changed. People are moving, transients, things like that. Economic survival, less community involvement and mentors and things like that. It's so many changes that probably just you didn't have 10, 15, 20 years ago. There's no more Ozzie and Harriet type of family, or what, I'm aging myself, and Leave It to Beaver kind of changed it, boy. You see all kind of dynamics working it's the family kind of work life things happening, right? And what happens, and so it's definitely okay. But what keeps parents from being involved? Time, right? They're too busy or working a lot. Sometimes it's their culture, maybe even it's their personality, right? Parents' own history at school. Maybe they didn't have a good experience, or they don't know. But sometimes they don't know what they don't know, right? Knowledge and uncertainty, the same thing. Sometimes it could be our school policies and our practices. We're going to talk a little bit about those things. Lack of communication. So I want to make sure, I say you're there, but sometimes we may have our own blinders there, and we put a lot of the onus on the parents and not looking at what we can do or some things we're not doing. And so lack of communication, lack of training. Sometimes parents need to know how to be parents. Parental education. So I'll share a little bit about that. Again, some schools, hopefully you're not there, or child care centers, may not welcome parents, okay? Maybe other issues, even for dads. A few dads, I'm a single dad. I don't like the term, this is my own hang-ups. I don't like the word single parents, because that means there's only one parent involved. I consider myself a single dad, because I am involved with my children. Staff may seem to prefer, sometimes they expect to work with moms, because they're used to it. And all the centers are filled with females, okay? And again, obviously more staff or more centers are staffed with women. Okay? So, why should we promote parent involvement? one key thing is, I don't know if you're familiar with the educational code, it's very technical, with Title II, public education, and even though you're not involved in K through 12 for some of you, and if you do involved with kindergartens or even preschool, some of the code is still responsible for students' rights and parents' rights. And I'm just going to share with these things that are actually knowledgeable that I got off the internet. That's part of requirements that parents need to have and how they partner and work with schools or even early childhood education. And it's in chapter 26 of part of their standards, and it's parental rights and responsibilities. And I'll read just part of it verbatim. It says, parents are partners with educators, administrators, and schools, and even their boards, if they happen to have a boards. Parents shall be encouraged to actively participate in creating and implementing educational programs for their children. Okay? And then they also say there's rights for parents concerning academic programs in progress, access to students' records in progress, having access to assessments, access to teaching materials, and obviously a very important one is the safety. And so it is a partnership. Even if they don't seem to be involved or encouraged, that's part of our job. So we got to find out some other ways and creative ways. That's what we signed up for. So we have to go the extra mile. We have to do the extra things. Or, just saying they're not involved or they don't want to do this. That's part of our job to get them more involved. It is hard, but we have to do better. I'm just in general as a profession, we have to do better overall. Does that make sense? And so it's not just there just to be in writing as a code, but it's something that we need to do. Some of the outdated thinking on parent involvement. Parents should only come to school when they're invited. And actually, and I don't know how you feel about this. I've been in some classes before that I taught, or just what I heard before. Well, we don't want parents just stopping by. Or they're always critical of us, or they're just concerned about their child and making sure that everything is working out okay. But we need to encourage that. For parents to come and observe and sit, okay, or they're going to disrupt the classroom. They're going to disrupt our child. If you manage and balance it right, effectively, I think it's important, very important. You want them to be involved. You want them to come and see things, okay? Or if there is a stay-at-home mom, we just only come for just certain little things, or they can sit and babysit a little bit, or be in the homeroom, or just read. Find out other ways, in addition how they might be involved, and ask them. Well, again, our parents visit school mainly for children's performance or behavioral issues, or just for open houses. We don't want a parent just to come once or twice a year, okay? We want them to be partners and be involved. Parents only help raise money for school. I've been part of the Montessori schools and other school systems where, you have a little bit more fortunate parents that can pay for the fees and things like that for early childhood education. And a lot of times we did raise a lot of money, but that's just not the only thing that parents can do, even if they are financially capable of doing those things. And any other things of why parents might not be involved, or some outdated thinking that you think that's happening today. Can I help you a little bit? What about, does it have to be just the parent? Who else can be involved? Okay. And who else can be involved?
Aunts and uncles.
Yeah. Huh? Nannies? Others, right? Extended family members, even older brother and sister, right? Okay. And even think about, I'm going to talk about towards the end, even think about how dads can get involved. Okay, because that's kind of a passionate area for me, but think about those things. Okay. Here's a couple of statistics. Schools that have been the most successful in involving families look beyond traditional definitions. So we got to be open and we got to be creative to a broader view that considers parents and families as full partners, okay, in the education of their children. These schools view children's learning as a shared responsibility among everyone involved in the child education. And despite where their competency level is, or the tradition or their history, and that's where we may even come in with part of the parent education. So some research. Over 30 years, research has been proven beyond the dispute the positive connection between parent involvement and child success. There's a positive connection. Effectively engaging parents and families in the education and care of their children has the potential to be far more transformational than any other type of educational reform. We can do a lot of stuff with curriculum and all these other things. But the biggest thing that's going to elevate the development of any type of child is partnership and getting parents involved. And you see this a lot with, I'm not going to just say different others who are doing there, whether it's at a high economic background or even if it's someone, different cultures or something, whatever that may be. But when they're involved, you can see the difference. And even when people have been labeled or, this, what do they call it? We'll label special ed and things like that, but when you get people and parents more involved, you're still going to see a special difference. Okay, also research shows, again, parents' involvement makes a difference. It helps children get ready to enter school. These are, again, the benefits. Transition to kindergarten and elementary, better. That's why early childhood education is so important. I'm not saying a child is going to be lost when they're in elementary or middle school, but that jump start elevates the success and obviously the continual involvement of parents. But it promotes child care and school success. Greater teacher effectiveness, where you're not just all alone, okay? It increase higher expectations for the children, okay? It increased ability to understand family views and cultures. So if you partner with them, everybody's different. I'm not saying you have to agree with the family dynamics of the culture or whatnot, but you can understand it better, maybe understand why, okay, things in a certain way. And obviously, it can improve the morale of the teachers. So those are some positive benefits. Also, research increase access to services to family. And I'm gonna talk about how you can increase services to families by getting them involved. And here's a big one. And I've served or participated with a lot of organizations where it's a minority population or low-income families. And how many of you have children that are you being subsidized from workforce? At least half of the people. And sometimes, how many of you have a high population of your income and your revenue come from being subsidized from workforce? Okay, and a lot of child care centers throughout, because I do it with the workforce solutions across the state of Texas. So I partner and work with them in training. And obviously, if someone's being subsidized because they come from a low income, right? And typically, sometimes it may tend to be a different ethnic group, a variety of different ethnic groups. But children from minority and low income families benefit the best and the most when families are involved, when you're partnering with families. That has more impact than anything else that can be done when parents are involved in partnership. Knowledge of how to be more supportive of kids when you partner with them. Greater confidence about ways to help the children. We talked about this, partnering and asking them what's going on. More positive view of who you are and what you do. You're an expert, okay? It can also increase volunteerism, okay? But it also gives them greater empowerment. So I gave you a lot of benefits up front, but how do you implement those to make it happen? Let me backtrack, because I do another class on customer service. I'm just gonna give you a quick skinny on how it's also important for your business. Who are your customers? Who are your customers? Parents and the kids. Those are your primary direct customers, right? And just real quick, I'll give you a quick one-on-one on customer service in general and how to deal with that. And also, even when you're dealing with parents that aren't involved or might be upset or have some issues. But I like to do it from a business perspective first. Statistics says it plays to please customers. Even workforce is your customer. They may not be your direct customer, but they're your customer too, right? You're here, okay? And sometimes they pay some of your bills. So customers, though, they love and cherish organizations that treat them the way they like to be treated and treating them with respect, okay? I like to also say this one is, what's the golden rule when they say how you treat people? Treat others how you would want to be treated. But you know what? I also like to take it another level. Also treat people the way they want to be treated, because they may not want to be treated exactly like you. And that's where diversity and culture come into play. And actually, if you get to know them and understand it, it's going to create more value, okay? Some customers, though, would be willing to pay a little bit more for the services if they have quality, excellent service. And so actually having that partnership and that relationship and that development with the children, not that all can be for that. I mean, I'm willing to pay, and I have paid for higher quality child care for better services. We're not talking about a whole lot of money, but even if that's 5 or 10% more, wouldn't that make a big difference for your child care center? So consumers will typically spend 10% more for better services. And here's the good thing, well, also on that is they'll tell other people about the positive things. Even though you won't hear 9 to 12, these numbers are too high, about good service, quality service. But what happens on the flip side? When it doubles. So even having that involvement and that relationship with parents is very positive. And so they'll tell you either no service or no communication or just being neutral is not positive, okay? And the last part, when customers, everybody has it, nobody's perfect. Customers complain for a reason or not for reasons. But when customers have a complaint or have issues, you handle it quickly, and 80% they'll be satisfied and happy. They'll patronize you again and give you positive feedback. Just real quick, your role in customer service, and this is your role when you're dealing with parents, okay? Have a positive attitude. Be very positive, regardless. Or even how the children may have done, or what may have personally may have happened, or other coworkers. Have a positive attitude. I don't want to go to work or drop someone off or drop my children off and the teachers seem to be in a bad mood. Don't you think that comes toxic and maybe may permeate with my children? So even when I talk to my other class, just smile, that changes things in behavior. You make someone else smile, maybe make a parent smile, even if they're having a bad day. Anticipate and meet the needs of the parents and the children. You represent the child care center. Recommend solutions and suggestions. You want to keep them coming back. And so you start off small, but they'll keep coming back to be involved. And at a more deeper level, be aware of what's going on in the classroom with your children and ask questions to the parents. Even be aware of what's going on with the parents. If they seem to be solemn or sad, just ask them how their day is going, but you break the ice in small ways. Be responsive to their questions and concerns. Don't ignore them, okay? Involve yourself emotionally. I'm not gonna say get too deeply involved, but also and even how you do that is coming to work in a good mood throughout the day. And just don't treat them as just a number, as just parents in general. Treat them as individuals, because we're all unique and different. And that's where the diversity comes into play. And again, it's just not ethnic or cultural background, men and women. It's just people are just different in how they see things and view things. So again, this is just a one-on-one, real quick, customer service. And the interpersonal skills. The common denominator we said is communicate. And again, for all my classes, I teach a class on communicating, how you effectively communicate. But when you do that, you gotta sell the best things of who you are. Sell your personality, the bubbly things about yourself. Being courteous, polite, and respectful, okay? A good thing is not always to be a problem solver and just to immediately offer a solution to someone. The biggest part of communication is listening. That's why we got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Sometimes just listening to parents, and obviously listen to our children. Know all the parents' names. People love when you remember their names, okay? That goes a long way. Goes a very long way. These small things help. Ask questions, use eye contact in general. Don't try to avoid things. And just real quick things, how do you really knock your socks off on customer service? This is just a brief tip on customer service in general, who is primarily our parents. Meet with them, listen to them, learn from them. Dealing with complaining customers sometimes could be your best friend. It could be your greatest source of learning. So if you hear parents complaining a lot about the same thing, it's probably a real issue. So don't ignore it and just say parents are complaining or something like that. We all got room for improvement, or at least educate them on something they maybe just don't know, okay? Create customer trust. You keep the promises you make. You acknowledge their unique needs and wishes. You apologize if the organization is at fault, and not just blaming someone else. These little things just count, okay? Build a service vision. And when I say a service vision for customer service, we will also have a mission for who you are, but also sort of like a customer service vision, who we are, what we're gonna deliver. Let people know that. Measure that. How many of you have customer service or parents surveys? Do you ask your parents how you're doing? And getting some true feedback? Whether it's through a survey or have some focus groups or have them come and interview or one-on-one, ask them that. And I'm just gonna give you a quick sample of one. And create your own, use this as a sample. I get all these off the internet, so I steal shamelessly. It's not particularly copyrighted. So this is just a quick example of asking parents for feedback, how you're doing, okay? And this all could be anonymously. They don't have to put their name on it. You can ask 6 or 10 simple questions, create the questions that you think are most important, also to see how they might get involved or what's important to them. And so I'm not gonna go over this, but just just something you can use. But it's important to ask parents. Even ask them, how can we get you involved? What can we do? Yes.
I asked my teachers periodically for a love letter.
And what? Explain that to me.
My love letter is to writing a letter explaining what are we doing to please you? How are my teachers? How's it when you drop your children? How do we pick them up? What can we do to make it better for you? How are you pleased with our service? Would you tell someone else about us? And I said, don't Brown loves me. I said, give me a little bit on how you feel about what we're doing for you. So,
And be honest about that. And so if you actually, even if you do this, don't be afraid about some of the answers and results you're going to get. Don't be afraid. Because if we think we're perfect, then we got blinders on. Okay? Just to give you an example, and even if you're doing a good job, okay? If we rest too much on our laurels that, everything is working great, oh, we're pie in the sky, we got it all, we got a waiting list. If you just say, okay, everything's cool, but you're not always trying to improve it and sustain it, you'll lose it. There's a book that's out that's called Good to Great, and it talks about how great companies and big companies that's been so great and good for a while, and they just rest on their laurels and everything was fine, that they become average or obsolete. And so you always got to raise the bar, but keep that open communication and dialogue with parents to get feedback. And obviously, I did the same thing with in my Human Resource 101 classes, how you do that with your employees. So it's very important to ask them and to get feedback, okay? And then whatever thing that you can do that added value, that average services to help them out. What are you doing to kind of go the extra mile? That can be the small things that's going to be important, because parents also communicate to other parents, okay? So that's very important, okay? Some things on how you can implement a family-friendly childcare and what are some of the benefits to your center. There's a study that was out. Well, I want to do this. Okay. Let me stop right here. Actually, I got to pause. I want to give you an assessment on how well do you think you communicate? How many of you think you have good communication skills? Because we said communication is a key denominator, right? And so I'm going to give you a quick assessment. And so that could be whether it's communicating with parents, communicating with each other, with your staff. And so, because we said communication is a key denominator, right? So I'm going to give you a quick assessment just to see, because that's a key component in how you partner with parents. And I'll explain the exercise in a quick second. So take one. Hopefully you got a pen or a pencil. If anyone needs one, let me know. So as this goes around, I believe there's like maybe 15 questions, and answer them as quickly and honestly as you can. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. And it's a communication self-appraisal. And so you're going to rate yourself. Like the first question says, I am open and direct when I have something to say. Okay? If you say always I do, it's 4. If you say 3, I often do this. 2, I sometimes do this. 1, I seldom do this. And 0, I never do this. Okay? And so answer all the questions. And what do you think you're going to do at the end? Add up your total scores. And I'll just give you an indication just in general how your communication skills are. It's not absolute or totally scientific, but this can affect how you communicate also at work with your customers, with parents, with your children, and with each other. Everybody got their totals? Seem like everybody's there? Okay. So when you add up your total scores, how many of you score between 50 and 60? Well, you seem kind of passive inside with that. You're not proud of that number? Maybe 50 to 60? You got 50? Okay, 50 to 60? Okay. Want to hear the results? Okay. If you maybe. They said if you score 50 to 60, you are an exceptional communicator. Okay. You almost never contribute to misunderstandings. Want to hear the second part? Or you lied a little bit when you completed the survey. Okay. How many of you score between 40 and 49? Okay, that's good. That's pretty much half or most of the class. They say you are an effective communicator. You seldom cause communication breakdowns and misunderstandings. You are a person who can analyze the message and the intent. Okay? How many of you score between 30 and 39? Brave enough to share? It's not bad. But I'll just let you know where you scored, what the score means. It means you're an average communicator. Okay, none of us are born natural communicators. None of us are born natural leaders. Okay, but you have maybe a few laps, and most of us do. Start action planning to improve your communication skills, and whether this class or books, and just practicing on that. And again, if someone scored, you don't have to raise your hand. But I've had a few who in other classes did. But if you are below, if you score 20 to 29, you are below average communicator, so you got to work on it. And if you score less than 10, I don't know, you might be in the wrong profession or something. But again, that's just a quick assessment. It's not 100% scientific. But keep that in mind as we think about communication, when I'm going to share with you some other communication tips when we deal with parents. I'm going to give you a handout shortly on that one and have you explore that. But I want to get back now to some more research on how partnering with children and their parents is very important. And so it's a study a while back, because some big corporations don't happen as much. They're really progressive and proactive in having a center that's going to support their workers. And they have, child care workers there. And this is a study that was by IBM of 63 child care centers that they had. And so they rated on various elements of family friendliness. Are you family friendly? And with them, family involvement in child care centers ensure the successful outcomes for the children, okay? Features should focus on the family. Again, this is not my words. This has been repeated and redundant to say as a true partner in providing care, okay? It also says a strong collaboration between families and staff with children as the focuses. This is what they study focus on. And here's the results. So to have key elements of a family-friendly child care, you have to have a strong relationship between teachers and children. We know that's a prerequisite, okay? So staff responds quickly and sensitive to children's requests and nonverbal cues. Even when I do the communication, the biggest part of communication is nonverbal, okay? For example, they offer affection and spend time answering and expanding on the children's questions. Staff demonstrate they know and appreciate each child in the room. So that's where uniqueness and diversity comes into play. For example, staff integrate individual children's interests, friendship, temperament, food preferences, and et cetera, napping times if possible. Again, the center has a relaxed and cheerful atmosphere. Children seem to be more comfortable, engaged, and having fun. So again, that's your partnership in working with the children, which is an extension with the parents. Now here's the big part with the parents. Having a family child care center that's friendly with the parents, interaction between staff and parents. You ask them for information. Someone said this earlier. Be proactive. Ask them for information about their child, the child interest, to help them plan daily activities or what's going on or what's new that's happening in a confidential and fair way. And obviously, there's things that's not confidential. You have to share and report with the CPS or whatnot, but be very confidential of what a parent tells someone. We don't want gossiping and stuff going around and things like that within the child care center. Staff and parents work together to solve problems such as finding belongings, behaviors, biting problems, and not, going to the potty or things like that, or biting. But there's a partnership because it's something that's not happening at home, and you got to be reinforced in both places, right? And staff take the time to help parents understand how the center's curriculum and activities contribute to their child's learning and development. Just when I share with the educational code, okay? But there's another piece that can go further. And I did this in one class where a lot of times, if you can be helpful and useful, is that some of these young parents and parents that just don't know, they need parent education, okay? And even just with the resources, even though you can't do it directly, you're not a social service agency, but if you know the resources and partner with the community in the area that can truly, if you want to make a difference, being able to partner with those agencies and organizations if you see some needs. And even if it's just with the workforce and trying to find a job or something like that, or having them come out to your facility. Some parents don't have a clue about education is one, and curriculum, maybe offering them some incentive or whatnot to come and learn, but making sure it's at their level. You have to meet them where they're at, okay? Also, I did the finance and business class in corporates last week. We have a problem, in how we deal with our parents and, paying their bill and, how to do that. Some parents, and even some of us, and even business owners, they don't know how to manage their money. So it may be a benefit for you, even if you can have someone to come out for free to give a parent education on that And some of the big budget concerns, priorities you got to do, if you pay your child care bill on time, because otherwise they'll cut other services off, so you need to pay your bill on time with child care, we have to let your children go. But whatever that may be, that could be just a parent education, but you're also showing partnership. You're helping the whole part. Not that you're directly doing it, because you don't have time and you may not even have the expertise, but when you partner with the community and others, parents will feel more comfortable and work with you on other issues with their children, the child care concern. Okay, so staff take time to help parents understand, we're talking about the educational piece. So now, you gotta get some parents that are irate, have problems. How many of you deal with irate or conflict with parents or any customers in general, okay? And sometimes, a lot of times, they say the customer's always right. That's not really true. That's supposed to be our philosophy. That's supposed to be, or the parent's not always right. That's our philosophy, though. We want to make them feel that way. We want to make them feel comfortable, okay? And then don't forget, sometimes it is our fault. We're not always perfect, or it just may be a misunderstanding, a miscommunication, or whatnot. But when you deal with any customer, and I still call it the parent for the main part, be aware of your company policies and how you deal with parent policies and things like that and procedures. And sometimes even as a direct child care provider, if we don't know, we need to work with our director or administrative director or powers that be. But in any basic situation and how you deal with a customer or conflict, there's 3 things you need to do in managing a difficult situation. First of all, control ourselves, manage our own emotional state. You can't add fire to fire. We can't go tit for tat. We are the professionals in this. So we have to remain, I call it the 3 C's, calm, cool, and collective. Okay, and so you have to have the bigger head in doing that. But then at that state, you may be able to manage another personal emotional state. And then you can go to solving the problem. But a little bit more specific in detail, real quick 6 steps. First, listen carefully. Just listen. Sometimes the parent's angry or mad or whatever's going on, it's not you or the child care center. It could be something else that's going on personally in their life. Okay, so listen carefully and patient. Okay, don't always go immediately to solve the problem or the solution. Sometimes they just may want you to listen, okay? But then ask questions in a caring and concerned way. Even the tone of my voice got lower as I was talking about a caring and concerned way. Here's another key point, is acknowledge their viewpoint. Even though it's wrong as I don't know what, okay? Even if you don't agree, sometimes you can say, yes, I hear you. You're not saying, yes, you're right. But they feel that you're involved and you're listening and you're engaged instead of always being on the defensive, okay? Also, apologize if a mistake was made, okay? Even if it was in another area or whatnot, apologize. It's okay to have an apology, okay? But don't play the blame game, or we do this as a center all the time, and you represent the whole center of where you're at. But then find out how to solve the problem and ask them how can we solve it if we can work on it together. And obviously take responsibility for the problem and find a satisfactory solution. So that's just the quick 101 just on customer service I wanted to explain to you. But again, just volunteering and getting parents to volunteer and involved, that's also a big part of partnering with parents and getting them to be involved. And not just parents, the community, family members and things like that, it's still a partnership. What do they say? Sometimes it takes a village to raise a child. So you need to think about it in that way too. That's why I didn't just say parents, I said family members, but also you can get your community involved. Okay, so recruit parents, family members, professionals, or whoever that may be in different areas to volunteer to partner with you. But you want to describe what role they want to play, what their interest is, and what's the benefit of them getting involved and volunteering. So it's not always the financial things, it could be the time, the activities, their expertise, their professionalism, in-kind services and goods, whether it's businesses, material supplies, even some of the parents, all those things, pro bono. Just get them involved. Parent participation, even if we've got involved one time with our children, we got involved so much with fundraising. I raised over $10,000 or something to help them build a playground. And then also some extracurricular activities later, and lessons and even Spanish lessons and things like that. And since we volunteered so much and raised so much money, they wanted to give us a discount on on having 2 children there. But anyway, we didn't have to take advantage of it, but you never know. If our parents are really invested and involved, it may really have a good return on investment for you that you may be able to give them some perks financially. But also, just in general, just public and private partnership, partner with your local community. Get them involved. Let them know who you are. And parents will love to see that. So back to communication. I know we're going back and forth. So just effective communications in general. I want to share with you this list. And I like to give out a lot of materials that you can take back with you as resources. And this was, you'll see the author there, so it's not my work. But I'll share with you some of the best practices when you partner with parents, and also how that relates to communication. So how to foster effective communication with parents and promote a healthy relationship with the parents. So what I'm going to do is, as this is being passed around, I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to review it, and because of the essence of time, and look at these 20 different ideas and things that you can do. And let me know a couple that you look at that you say, wow, and some of this may have something on the back as extra with the survey that I used from previous class. But look at these 20 things. Tell me what resonates with you that you really like, that you want to do, or it's a new idea or a wow moment, or something that you're already doing and you want to sustain it, that you think it's a good practice. So again, spend about 5 minutes or so at max, and then I'm going to ask you, a few of you, which one of these resonate with you and why? What does it mean to you? Okay, so kind of review real quick this list of 20 things, all right? Let me hear from you as far as some things on this list, or even some other things we haven't talked about that you really like, you want to do, or you are doing, that you think is really key out of these 20. Who wants to share with me? Because I got a quiet group in this part of the afternoon.
Well, I did number 3, take notes openly while conversing with parents. It just lets them know that you're hearing them.
Okay.
Sometimes when you're just like, and you're like, are they really listening?
Right,
But if
right.
you see somebody
Right.
writing it down, like, okay, they are listening to what I have to say. What I have to say is valuable enough to write down on
Write
a
it
sheet of
down.
paper.
Even so you can remember it and things like that. So it's kind of very, very important. Even like I even told them, this is another trick for, even when I go in tell people to interview, if you go taking notes and you listen to the interviewer, or what they're saying about the company thing, that means you're engaged and you're interested in what they're saying. So what are some other things that resonate with you? Number 12, what does number 12 say? Yeah. And why does that resonate with you?
Parents don't want to be met at the door every day knowing that their kid is, you'll do better if you focus on the positive. The child will do better, the parent will do
Right.
better.
So we don't want to always talk about negative things and negative behaviors, even though that may happen. So how are you going to motivate and encourage your child and their parents about some positive things? There's been studies, and I don't remember what it says. I don't know if it's 3 to 5 positive things for every negative thing. So even a child that does some bad behavior or biting and stuff like that, or doesn't go to the potty or stuff like that, there's some positive things, but you want to encourage them. Or even if they did great this day, or they did, so because you want to sustain it and give them something to improve upon. So what are some other ones that you like?
Just try not to get into power struggle with them,
Not to get in power struggle with them,
with the parent.
with the parents, right?
No.
Because you'll never win that one, will you?
No.
Sometimes it's let to go, some battles go and things like that, right? What else are some things you like on this list?
Number 7,
What does number 7 say?
about websites, maybe having the materials available for them, that like handouts,
Mm-hmm.
signing in and out,
Mm-hmm.
if they could do that.
Okay, for websites. So you want to be a resource, right? Be a resource for them. And also being an expert. You want them to respect you as an expert and professional. So that's why you also need to be very resourceful. Okay? What are some other things? A couple of more that you like.
Number 1's a good one.
Number 1. What does number 1 say?
Give them your undivided attention and be an active listener.
They're very important. So, I'm busy or I can't do that. And so give them your undivided attention and have good listening skills, or repeat back to them. Make sure you understand what they're saying or paraphrase it, okay? So you can understand, because we all can have different communication and language barriers. They can say one thing and we may think something else, okay? And so, even when I do my communication class on body language, that says a whole lot, doesn't it? Somebody can say, well, I'm feeling great. What does that mean? They're not feeling great or good, right? So that's very important. Active listening is also looking at body language. This last one or two before we move on. But use this as a resource guide. Anyone got a hot one they want to share? Okay. All right. You like one?
I have 20.
Look, or read number 20 to us.
Well, it says never assume
I mean, just in communication in general, my daughter has to tell me 2 or 3 things and remind me about doing something or this or that. And various means of communication, people prefer different communications in different ways. And so you have to be diverse in even how you communicate with people. And obviously, you know, verbally, face-to-face, telephone, some people like even to text more, or the giving information on Facebook, on posting things like that, you know, or newsletters. So you got to come up with a variety of different means because people are different. What's that?
They do not read the handouts.
Yeah, I know a lot of paperwork and stuff I get. Okay, that came, you know, so you got to be, communication is key. You got to use a diversity of ways on how you communicate. So great. I know we got to move on. I probably only got about 10 minutes. I got to move on quickly. Encourage parents to look for everyday learning opportunities at home. Talk using complex words and sentences, and so you can help with their development from educational stuff. Have them to read how to get them about. Have them read to their children every day. And be careful with some of the parents that's not able to read, so you don't want to offend them either. Okay? So you got to be delicate in those areas.
Oh, and you also have to make sure they have the actual books at home. Some parents may not have books.
Right, and resources, right. And so when you build a positive relationship with someone, the big part of the positive relationship is built on trust and mutual respect and confidence. And so you have to find a way, we talked about those customer service and human relation and dynamics and things like that, you have to be able to do that so they can feel comfortable to work with you. And I find this out also a lot in the special different cultures. You know, they're not going to share and work with you. Not saying anybody won't do that until I feel I can trust you. And some bad, you know, things may not be going on positive in my life, or you can respect me. And confidential, I'm sorry, you was going to say something.
No, she was mentioning about reading and making sure the books are on the level. We have an extra reading curriculum at my facility, and every Monday, the library lady comes out and she reads with the children, do an activity with them, and they take books home. They get an opportunity to take a book home for keeps and read.
Right.
So that's an extra curriculum that the parents can do with the children when they pick their books to take home. So I think that's, and they love reading. That's
Okay.
the thing. I think.
Because reading is a big part of it. Reading is fundamental, and so to get them to that level is one of the key things we need to work on, okay? You know, there's some other stuff you already know about, educational stuff and being, you know, being consistent about routine and discipline, and even encourage them, you know, don't go home and have your babysitter be the TV, you know, the laptop, or the iPad and things like that, and have them feel free to talk about, how they feel and how you can work with them and handle certain things. Just some suggested group parenting group sessions. And so just when we talked about parent education, they don't know what they don't know, or they're uncomfortable and things like that, we can help in that way. Even if it's us not directly, getting our community and partnering with others. Again, it's a village, okay? If we really try to make a difference. So let them know about stages of early childhood development and education. They don't know. Somebody's a first parent, or they're young, or whatever. It's not that they don't care about their children and they don't love their children. I'm gonna share with you, I forgot to give it to you earlier, called 10 Truths About Parent Involvement. So I'll share with you shortly. Teach them about parenting skills, about preschool education, learning curriculum, about communication, about discipline, how to obviously deal with children with special needs, social development, community involvement, getting there, healthy lifestyle. Sometimes they're just not eating healthy. That's important for the development of a child. Okay, even not staying up late or whatever they're doing, okay? But have open the session to be agreed upon those, and have those things, whether it's monthly or quarterly, or have someone come out, a special topic. You gotta start somewhere, even if you have a few, and then word may spread and things like that, but it's free. You have maybe some incentives, and you got some food. You can have a community partner that's paying for those things, so it's not financially coming out, or an expert to come out. Like I said, whether it's financial planning or whatever it may be, that's, it's not gonna really cost you anything, but it's gonna help the child, and also the partnership and development, so that they know that you're working with them. So what can we expect? What can we expect of parents? If they do this, volunteer in the classroom, volunteer in policy making, help them actually partner with you on why we have our policies. Attend parent-teacher conferences. Even though we don't have a PTA, you can create one. Communicate, reinforce lessons learned. So we're not going to have time to go over some other brainstorming activities, but I gave you a lot of examples. Okay. What else do we encourage parents for? In the form of parent educational programs, we talked about that. Activity groups, working with the schools and library, assist with other community resources to help out families. We kind of sort of talked about that. Now, what about us guys and us dads? They get them involved. Studies have shown always 2 involved parents are better than 1, unless you really got some tragedy issue things with another parent. But typically, studies have shown 2 parents involved are better than 1, even if they're not together. Research shows positive outcomes for school success and social adaptation when dads are involved. Okay, find a way to do that. Better grades show up statistically, more likely to enjoy school, participate more in extracurricular activities and sports and things like that. And then you typically have less disciplinary actions, okay, issues. And other males can actually take these roles, not necessarily the father. Either you have a mentor or a male come out to help do things with the group overall. And then overall, there's obviously different parental styles. Okay, mom and dad tend to have different styles. Father's more likely to be playful and encourage risk-taking and things like that. Mother's more likely to provide physical care and nurture. We know this is stereotypes in the sense, but statistically, this is where they're at. Everybody can play different roles, but statistically, this is how it works with different parenting styles. So that's why 2 parents involved are very important. What else should professionals know about parent involvement? Positive outcomes, again, is not related to economic and ethnic or cultural background of the family. It's really their involvement. Studies have shown you can have 5 to 10 times amount of children developing well when parents are partners. Every family has strengths. We got to know what their strengths are to help them work with them to help their children, and valuable information about their children. When families feel comfortable in the school setting, they're more likely to get involved. More than one-time events are needed, and not just a one-time event. So ongoing things that you do. So when you look at just like when you're planning things, and whether you're planning your budget and things that you do, look at how you plan things for the year. And you make adjustments overall, okay? Again, when you involve them, give them things that they really like or they're good at, a substantial task that's involved. Always remember the barriers that we may put on ourselves. Again, additional ways, build relationships, school involvement is family friendly. We talked about communication being a key. Family involved in school decision making. They can feel as partners and actually have them volunteers. Again, you don't necessarily have to have a PTA, but when you do, think about communication, parenting, student learning, volunteering. We talked about collaborating with the community. Some of this is redundant. And even when you have parent meetings and activities, set up some time, 2 hours a month where parents can drop by for a cup of coffee or talk to the teacher, whatever, whenever that, but create that environment. And it always doesn't have to be structural. Just make it informal, okay? Sign-up sheets for parents who want to participate in daily activities. And so just keep that flowing throughout the year. And whatever their special talents are, get them involved, okay? So before I go with any takeaways, I want to share with you just 2 things in closing. I've had some people said, well, parents don't want to get involved. They don't care about their children, and they don't have a lot of interests. That's not necessarily true. What did you tell me earlier when we said about how parents feel about their children? That's their most prized possession, okay? Sometimes they just may be lacking the areas. And so I'm going to share with you 10 truths about parent involvement, and then we're going to close. And I'll highlight a few. And the last thing I'm going to give out, I know I might probably be giving out too much paperwork, so I'm going to give you an extra bonus, is just communication tips in general with anybody, and especially also with parents. Just my summary of my top 20. So let me share just a few of the 10 truths of parent involvement. I'll just highlight the ones that really resonate with me, and you can figure out which one really resonate with you. Okay, 10 truths of parent involvement. I like number 1. All parents have hopes and goals for their children. They may differ in how they support their children's efforts in achieving these goals. So remember, they do. So we got to find out a way to work with them on that, right? Number 2, The home is one of several areas that simultaneously influence a child. The school must work with people in other areas for the child benefit. So that's home is one part, okay? Number 3, the parent is central contributor to a child's education. It's not really, it's a partnership, but it's so much important for a parent to be involved. Schools can either ignore this fact or recognize them as potential of the parent that can help, okay? They may need education and development in it, but it's key for what happens at home. Number 4, parent involvement must be a legitimate element of education and development. Just 2 more. Number 8, most barriers to parent involvement are found sometimes within the schools and the centers. So again, as I said before, don't be blind to that, okay? Sometimes they're not always found with the parents. And the last one I like, successful parent involvement nurtures relationships and partnership. It's the strength of bonds between home and school, parent and teacher, parent and school, school and community. So again, it does take a village to get everybody involved. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.